Hello everyone, this is Gordon for Three Songs and Out, and I am with Evan from State Champs. Lovely to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries. I'm just going to jump right in.
Yeah.
So obviously you've just released Kings of the New Age. What
Right.
was the recording process like for it, being the first album as a four-piece?
Well, the writing process didn't really change all that much, other than we had a lot more time with the pandemic and things like that. We did the same way that we normally did. We actually went to Seth Henderson's place in Crown Point, Indiana, where we got together and jammed a bunch of songs. So like songs like Eventually and Sundress were kind of written there. There's a bunch of songs that every record cycle we tend to get together and write as many songs. We actually always just send each other song ideas or riff ideas, drum ideas. We just send them to each other. So by the time we get to each other, we have time to flesh them out and, form them into songs. And then after we did Seth's, we kind of went home, and then we went out and did what we kind of did on Living Proof, which was we went into LA. We went and wrote with some people. So we did with like Mike Green again, Courtney, which Courtney helped write like Act Like That, and he did an incredible job there. And then we went in with Drew Falk after, and then we kind of took all of our song ideas, kind of got in a room together, and kind of like visualized. We put all the songs that we had on little cue cards and listened through all the demos we had, and then really went through that and focused on what songs gave us evoked emotion out of us. And it was kind of a really great way. That's why I really enjoyed working with Drew Falk, is he was just like, yeah, this makes me feel a certain way. Let's explore that. And it was like really, really fun. And I can't rave enough about how working with Drew as a producer was great. And so we just took it from there. And then once we started tracking, I did my drums over at Kyle Black's studio. I feel like he always gets the best out of me. And then we tracked it, and it was just such an incredible process. It was really fun. And I think that's the thing with us now, is now we feel a little bit more comfortable, like knowing what we want, knowing what works and doesn't work. And not to say it gives us more of a mature sound, but it's easier. Instead of like Living Proof, we were kind of testing the waters, what it was even like writing with other people. This time around, we're like, okay, we know what we want to do. We know how these songs like. So it just seemed like a more streamlined process. But I absolutely had a blast doing it, and so did the rest of the guys.
It came across on the album. In my opinion, it was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I was fortunate enough to write a review for it on the site. So yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. So strangers to the UK at this point, with all manner of appearances on tours and festivals. Is there anything specific that really brings you back to the UK?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's the shows. I've said this a bunch over to fans and to people since we've been here, is I just feel like people in the UK are just more appreciative for bands coming over. American fans, it's not that they're not appreciative, but it's like, oh, if we miss State Champs or if we miss this band, that they'll probably end up coming back through at least a few times a year, versus over here, we're lucky if we get out here once a year. And then it just always seems like whenever we're over here, just the crowd reactions are amazing. It's always fun being over here, because the shows are going to go off. Fans are always just really excited. It's a great vibe over here that we just thoroughly enjoy being over here.
So obviously on this tour at the moment, you have the amazing Heart Attack Man and Between You and Me supporting. And I've noticed that over the past few UK tours you've done, you've had at least one Australian band on, obviously with Stand Atlantic and yours truly supporting on previous tours. Is there anything that really draws you in particular to the Australian pop punk scene?
I don't know if there's anything that we specifically look for. Like, it's not like we're actively looking for Australia pop punk bands. It just seems that they're doing it right as well. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of bands, that just are doing it really well. They have a lot of hype. They're a lot of fun to be around. like, I don't necessarily think it's an Australian specific thing. I mean, there's a lot of great UK bands, there's a lot of great American
Yeah.
bands. It just seems like, you know, that they're available, they're willing, they're hardworking, they have a great following. It's just, it all kind of makes sense when booking a tour. Like, oh, they're, you know, they're also hyped and they're going to bring out people and people are going to love to see them, and it builds a great package, so people are going to want to come out. So I don't think it's like necessarily that we're looking for an Australian specific or any specific type of band. It just depends on how well they're doing and if it's going to add to our tour package or not.
Yeah. And I can say from experience, because I saw you on those tours with Stand Atlantic and yours truly, and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to the show tonight.
Yeah.
That they definitely did bring something amazing each time, and each very unique things to the tour experience.
Oh, absolutely. And they're always a pleasure to be around, and it's fun. And, you know, I feel bad for Australians with how far they also have to travel. It's not that we don't have to travel far, but they're very hardworking bands. They're very talented and they're fun to be around. So it's just a bonus, you know. It's always great touring with bands that are just fun to be around and hardworking and good bands. So we're very lucky to have them for sure.
So there's no doubt that you're making huge waves as a band yourselves. But over the years, like I mentioned previously, you've toured and worked with some absolutely huge names in the scene, and some people you've like cited as influences. Has this had any effect on the things that you do as a band? And if so, what was the best piece of advice that you received?
Um, I don't think it really influences. I mean, it's really cool, right? Like, it's almost sometimes like, don't meet your heroes. But that's not really the case with all these bigger bands. Like, you know, like when we toured with Fall Out Boy, I specifically remember that was that tour. We were on the last like 7 days, and they had done an entire full US tour. And I remember going in being like, all right, they're a massive band. We're one of many openers on this tour. They're not really going to care. You know, don't step on toes. You try and be very careful, try and just adhere strict to their rules so you're not in the way. And as soon as we got there, it just seemed like everybody in their camp was super welcoming and inviting and super nice. And they all treated us very well. On the last day, they bought us some bottles of wine. It was really cool to see that bands that are that massive, that are still so sweet. And I feel like every band that's been big and taken us under their wing has just treated us with so much respect. It's so great. And we kind of try and do the same thing when we have bands on our tour. I just think it's cool. I don't necessarily think we try and, I mean, other than treat other bands with respect, I don't necessarily know that it really influences us in any other way. Like, I don't think it necessarily influences us with writing music or anything like that. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question? A piece of advice?
Yeah.
I just feel like it's not necessarily one specific piece of advice that I can even remember, other than just, you know, stay true, make music that you enjoy. Like, and I think we've stuck well with that. You know, we don't try and be anything that we're not. We don't try to make music that we think that people are going to enjoy. We just write music that we want to hear and we enjoy playing. And I think that that's something that stuck to me with the other bigger bands that are trying to like give us some piece of advice. So, you know, not necessarily do this or don't do that, but, you know, stay true to yourselves and have a good time, and like make sure that the main point is having fun. Because if you're not having fun doing this, what's the point, you know?
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
probably one of the bigger pieces of advice that I can
Yeah,
remember, at least.
yeah, like I said before when we were talking about the album, you guys do just genuinely seem to enjoy everything, like be that recording or putting out a music video, even just silly little skits like from London when you were walking around trying to find a target. I
Yeah.
think that really come across to the fans, and we do appreciate it. Um, and
Yeah.
sort of leading on from really like with the bigger bands, you've been a staple of things like tour in the US and Slam Dunk and recently Sad
Yeah.
Summerfest. Has that really affected how you run as a band, and like what were your experiences like on those kinds of tours and festivals?
Oh man. I mean, yeah, I feel like we're incredibly lucky. Like, even um just doing all the festivals that we've done, like everywhere, even in the UK. I mean, being on Warped Tour for me was incredibly special. I mean, that was a tour that we grew up with. Every summer is like, you just want to be on the Warped Tour. So being on there is kind of like what skyrocketed our band in the first place. I feel like we were already gaining momentum, but being put up against other bands in the scene, like everybody is being played there. And it's just, for me, those are just iconic things to be part of, and just being on them is just incredible.
Yeah.
And sorry, it was a little loud, so I didn't hear every part of that question. There's people yelling outside and cut out a little bit, but
no, that was an absolutely brilliant answer.
yeah.
I think one of the things I'm really interested in is Sad Summer Festival, because I believe
Yes.
Derek said in an interview before that it was John from the Main that kind
Yep.
of came to you guys on the final cross-country walk tour and
Yeah.
kind of posited this idea. So how did that really come about, aside from that?
It was really sad because in 2018, when Warped Tour ended, I feel like there was a lot of people trying to take Warped Tour's spot in the scene. And I feel like the way that Sad Summer did it was in a great way, where they didn't try and go too big too fast, right?
Yeah.
I think I felt really proud to be part of the first year of Sad Summer, because I feel like with the I think it had a perfect mixture of the bands. It wasn't too big of a bill. They didn't try to go too big with the venues, where I feel like other festivals that year specifically went too big too fast and tried to just completely replace Warped Tour. I just think it started in a really great, I feel like, especially the Main and all the people that are involved with that festival have been so ingrained with Warped Tour that they kind of had an understanding of which way to bring it. And they definitely did come to us and say, it'd be great to have you guys part of this.
Yeah.
And the way they approached it, I was just really impressed with the fact that I feel like they had a perfect mixture of having the vibe of Warped Tour, but not making it so massive that it kind of fizzled out. And that's why I still think Sad Summer is such a mainstay in the US, like, summer festival touring. And I'm very excited to be back, because I just think they did even last year, I feel like last year they had big bands and it did really well. And even this year's lineup's amazing. I think it's going to be a really great summer. It's not terribly long. I think that was another thing with Warped Tour, is like Warped Tour sometimes took like 2 to 3 months versus, this is like maybe a little over a month, something like that. So it's a great mixture of what Warped Tour was, but also having their own unique spin on it, to where I think it's going to grow every year and just be this really great, massive festival.
Yeah. Because I remember when it first came out, a lot of people were touting it as the new Warped Tour. And I know, as someone who's in Britain and grew up in Britain, I felt like we've really lacked that kind of thing, because Slam Dunk is brilliant, but when I was sort of first becoming a teenager, first coming into my own, going to concerts, it was just very inaccessible. And I found out about Warped Tour and I found myself getting very jealous that America got this massive cross-country tour and the UK still doesn't really have anything like that. Because for a while we had Kerrang Tour, which was on a lot smaller scale, but still absolutely phenomenal, and it really showcased a range of music. And again, Slam Dunk is brilliant. I know you guys have played a fair few times.
Yeah.
And
we're
that's
big fans of UK festivals, for sure. I mean, I think you guys have the best, just like, festivals. I feel like everybody's just trying to beat you guys when it comes to fests. Even American fests, I don't feel do as good of a job as they do over here, which is kind of nice. But I do understand the whole, the touring festival scene with multiple different genres all in ones, going around big venues. I totally get that.
As I've said, you've played a few different years of Slam Dunk. I'm really interested to see, from an artist perspective, how different it is going from the original inner city layout to the more traditional festival layout.
I mean, both are great. The inner city vibe, though, was really, really special. I really enjoyed that. I just thought it was a really cool scene for that. But having it be more, I don't know, for me, I really enjoy the big festival vibe too. Like I feel like Slam Dunk does a really great job. I don't know that I prefer one over the other, because both are really great. But man, it's just special to be part of that and just have it's always a great time going to Slam Dunk. But I don't know that I prefer one over the other, anything like that. But Slam Dunk does an incredible job, an incredible festival. It's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Sorry.
Oh, hello, your video's cut out.
Yeah, sorry. I think someone's calling
right.
So, sorry about that.
Then I think one final question.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that you guys have done over the years was the Breakfast with Champs videos that began on the 2018 Warped Tour. I just really want to know whose initial idea that was and who your favorite guest was.
Ooh, so I will say that, and I'm not saying this because he's right here, but that was a Ryan idea. I feel like Ryan is really great at coming up with these really interesting and fun ideas that come up with like new spins of not just like doing every normal everyday like tour update video, you know, like not, and I always enjoy those because I like seeing behind the scenes stuff, but there's also a really great way to engage with other bands on the tour in a fun way. And I remember Ryan being like, we all love to eat. That's a big part of our camp. And, you know, like being on that, you can interview anyone you want. There's a lot of downtime on those tours. So he's like, let's just set up a spot. It wasn't necessarily ever really in the morning because everybody kind of wakes up late, but we got breakfast food and we just set it up and we had someone film it and it was great. As far as my favorite, I think Austin Knights was a really fun interview, and because he's always just fun to be around, and there's a lot of interesting things that I remember from that interview being like, damn, I've never even heard of anyone doing that, like having the emojis as someone's contact information. I was like that would be crazy to me. But he was just fun to be around, and I love doing that, just like shooting the Shop Boy videos, or I mean, Ryan is the mastermind. I'm not just saying this because he's right here, but he's a mastermind of like the TikToks. He's been taking our TikToks to the next level. So he's really great at having those like visions of what could be a fun new spin that's not just like us, you know, being backstage doing whatever, like showing a little bit more personality, which I think is important. I think people now want to see personality in bands and not just that we're going on and off stage. So I hope that we continue Breakfast with Champs. I think that's something that we intend to do this summer. And
that was going to be a follow-up question from me, and I was going to ask if you were going to consider reviving it.
Yeah, I think that's our plan. We want to stick true to like having more fun on those interviews, doing Breakfast with Champs. TikToks are going to be up. Maybe we'll do some more Shop Boy episodes.
So I think your finger's covering the mic.
Sorry about that. So yeah, we fully plan on doing more Breakfast with Champs, Shop Boy episodes, and making sure that we have enough video content, TikToks, and all that fun stuff. Because it makes it more fun. We have downtime out here, and whenever you're doing something creative like that, it's a good time.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me. I've had a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm very much looking forward to the show tonight. And Kings of the New Age, absolutely phenomenal album. So yeah, thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you tonight.
See you tonight. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.